Now, my first guest on the programme this evening is Anthony Rimell. He's the People's Choice candidate for Riccarton, and he joins me on the line. Good evening, Anthony.
Good evening. How are you this evening?
I'm very good, thank you. A People's Choice candidate, does that mean you're Labour aligned?
Well, I personally am, but the People's Choice is more of a progressive alliance. So we've got people from Labour, from the Greens, and from other progressive independents who want to be part of moving in a similar direction.
Now, I understand you've been quite active within the party, Labour Party, for a few years. Could you give us a bit of background on that?
Sure. So, look, my involvement really began back in 2014 after the election loss that year, where Labour was pretty severely drubbed. And I guess my thoughts on that were that there were policies coming through that I really believed in, and I could either stand on the sideline and continue to watch those not making any difference, or I could get involved. So that year, at the end of that election, I decided to get involved. So I got involved in the local areas. I was selected as a candidate for the Waimari Ward last time round. That's a fairly blue area. It's part of the Islay electorate. But I was keen to be part of just trying to get that progressive voice around the whole city. And then in 2017, I was asked to run in the Islay seat against the Honourable Jerry Brownlee, which again I was happy to do in terms of raising a party vote on that progressive swing of politics.
What's it like going into contest with somebody like Jerry Brownlee, because you knew that there was a very little chance, if any, that you were going to win?
Well, look, I think that's always helpful in that process. You know, I don't think anybody gets involved in politics to get beaten, but if you want a contest of ideas, and particularly under MMP, where it is about party votes, it's really about having that opportunity to raise the issues. And so, from my point of view, knowing that that's why I was there and what I wanted to achieve, I was pretty happy with that. We got the best party vote for the Labour Party in over 4 elections, and from my point of view, that was a good result. Winning would have been fine, but miracles are a line of my other work, if you like.
You've got big boots to fill. You're vacating the ward that's been left vacant by Vicky Buck, is that correct?
Well, that's the aim. So, as you say, really, really large shoes to fill. I mean, Vicky has been such a significant part of our city for so long. She was with the old 2021 back in the day and was, I think, one of the best mayors this city has ever had. It was great to see her getting back involved again a couple of elections ago. And to be frank, I mean, we had harboured no illusions again about being able to challenge her stronghold in Riccarton, because she is so popular and has done such a great job. So since it's unlike MMP, this is very much a sort of an electorate type process. We felt that we would be better off putting our resources elsewhere. But when Vicky made the announcement that she was stepping down, we see Labour as Riccarton as such a significant part of our city that we wanted to have the opportunity to run there. And yeah, I was pleased to be asked to do that and happy to step up.
Have you served on the community board? I'm interested to learn what you're going to bring to the job.
Yeah, look, so from my point of view, I've been involved in the community in a range of ways. I was a Baptist pastor in the Riccarton area at the Baptist church there for a number of years. And so my involvement is very much from the grassroots area with the community. We took a number of initiatives to the community board in the area, and I was pleased to see those come through. And look, some of them are really small issues, or they seem small to other people, but they're really significant in the community. There's a tractor, for example, in the Harrington Park, which is just near our church, and it has a bit of a legend that it was once at the south in the Antarctic as part of the stuff down there. We don't know whether it actually ever was, but it's quite a special spot there, and we'd gone to the community boards to get some support to get it cleaned and tidied and brought back to a bit of a better thing to look at for people in the community. And so, you know, we've always been quite keen to get involved in that way. Similarly, I was involved with helping set up the community garden that's also along Peveril Street, which a lot of the people in the local area really value. They get involved in it. And from my point of view, that's what community is about, getting involved, empowering people, giving them a chance to do something that they really want to achieve.
I'm speaking with Anthony Rimell. He's People's Choice candidate for Riccarton. Now, you just mentioned that you were or are a pastor. You share that in common with Glenn Livingston.
That's true, I do. In fact, when I first got involved with People's Choice, Glenn was a sitting councillor for the area, and it was good to be able to talk with him about, you know, just what for him were the key reasons for getting involved in politics from that point of view. And he, like me, we share a common desire to see, I guess, social justice, to see people on the margins given a voice, given a chance to see the value that they bring. And it was good to talk to him about that and the way he saw local body politics delivering on that.
I'm really interested in how a minister makes the transition from church to council. Were you? Did you know Peter Beck very well?
Look, I didn't. We were out of the city for a bit of time when Peter was more heavily involved in the city, and so I didn't actually have much of a chance to meet him. I think I might have met him once or twice. I don't think he found it a very positive experience because he didn't seem to really enjoy it at all. But again, I guess a lot depends on what you're looking to try and achieve, and sometimes the best way to do that is through politics. Sometimes it's other ways. And I think Peter realised that the things he wanted to achieve were better done in a different setting.
Yeah, he was very good at the cathedral, obviously, before the earthquakes came along, and then,
That's right.
then
Yes.
everything changed. What are you hoping to do for the ward should you be elected councillor?
Well, it's an interesting combination, isn't it? You know, when I had a bit of a chat with Vicky Buck a few months ago, just about, politics in general, one of the things she said to me was that the great thing about local body politics is that you often see things delivered quite quickly in terms of the things you want to do. So some of the areas I guess I'm really interested in, they range from some of the small stuff about making sure that the small businesses in the area get a bit of a voice. You know, they've had a bit of a rough time rebuilding from the earthquake, so I'd like to make sure there's a bit of a voice there. But the other areas for me are things like Antonio Hall and the sale yards. I think there are, the state they're in is not a great state in the ward, and I'd like to work with the council to make sure that we're working in conjunction with the owners of those sites to make sure that they don't look as bad as they do. They're safer spots for people. They look better, and hopefully we can see some sort of actual usage of those sites rather than the land banking derelict sites that they seem to be at the moment. So that's one area that I'm quite keen on.
How much can you do, though, as a council when somebody's clearly blatantly land banking, and it would appear that at Antonio Hall this was in fact the case?
Well, look, I mean, my view on that is that the City Council has some influence on the way land is used in terms of safety and security, and also the regulations around whether sites, are just left to rot like that. And I think we can look at working through the Resource Management Act and through some of the regulations about safety in the community to make sure that we partner with them. I think in trying to impose something on them without working with them is dangerous, in terms of the relationships into the community. But I'd like to make sure that we actually sit alongside them and say, hey, we don't think this is a good look. We don't think it's a good way of using the land. We don't like how it looks in our community. What can we do with you to make sure that something happens that benefits the local community as well as your own business?
Looking at the existing council, I think we've got some very good councillors, actually. Well, that's just my opinion. I think many of them are likely to be returned. How do you think you'll fit with them to form a working cohesive council, which of course is very important?
Well, I've said to a number of people, I guess the single most important part of that process is arriving and listening. I think the biggest mistake anyone can make getting involved in politics is wanting to arrive and achieve everything that they want without talking to others. So I want to hear what some of the other ideas are around the table once we're there. I want to make sure I'm listening to the community as well in terms of what their priorities are, and then to identify ways that we can work together. It's really easy to get oppositional, and I think often in politics one of the biggest challenges and one of my biggest disappointments is watching people get quite positional and therefore oppositional. So I want to arrive and start to listen first of all.
I'm going to ask you this. Who would you like to see as mayor next time?
Oh, look, at this moment in time, Leanne Dalzell has said that she's standing again, and we're pretty pleased about that. We think, I know some people have questioned what she's delivered, but the reality is we're still in that post-earthquake time, and I think she's delivered a sense of unity in the city. I think she's delivered stability, and she's got a clear vision for seeing the way forward. I wouldn't want to be in those shoes. I think it's a really challenging time, and I'd be really happy to see her re-elected. I know that she plans to run. There's other people looking to run as well. I'd want to work with whoever is chosen. But, from my point of view, I think Leanne's done a good job, and I'd like to see her continue.
Just to wrap things up now, Anthony, what else do you bring to the job? Obviously, you've got your experience as a minister, but what else have you done that you can bring to bear?
Well, I've worked quite extensively in the local community. Riccarton is probably the most diverse community in our. It is the most diverse in our city, and possibly one of the most diverse wards in the country. And one of the things I've done consistently in my time in the area is to work with people right across the board. So for me, bringing people together, I like to think that I'm a bit of a connector of people, and I want to see that happen. I want to make sure the voices in the local community are heard on the issues that matter to them. Some of those are things like the water state. You know, people are pretty disappointed about how it is, and we want to make sure those voices are heard. But I want to make sure that we're hearing all of the different voices, not just the usual ones.
Now, you were thinking of running for ECAN, and you were particularly bothered about the level of nitrates in water. Maybe just a final statement from you on that.
Look, not a problem. I think we need to really look at this. You've got medical officers coming out and saying that they're really concerned about the amount of contaminants in the water and wanting to make sure that the water quality is a top priority for the government, for ECAN and for the City Council. You've got ECAN who seem to be equivocating on the issue at the moment. I'm not talking about the councillors, I'm talking about the actual senior staff there. And we've got to make sure that this is turned around. If nitrate levels in the water are at a dangerously high level, that's got to be dealt with, and that's got to be seen as a top priority for ECAN and for the City Council, whoever it is, that is sitting around the table in October.
Well, Anthony Rimell, People's Choice candidate for Riccarton, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Good luck to you in the election. And
thank you very much.
You have a good evening. Coming up very shortly, we've got Kim Odering in the garden here on After Dark.